the snapping jaws of death. There is something quite intimidating about this many predatory reptiles lurking in the murky water. Not sure why. Do you know why I am feeling so intimidated by this many gators? Maybe because they are predators that will happily snap up whatever unfortunate animal falls near those jaws. However, unlike so many other large and potentially dangerous predators on the planet, like lions, tigers, or bears, crocodiles have a harder time escaping that man-eating stigma. Tigers and bears can be cute and draw adoring crowds that can easily forget the wild and deadly predator before them. An alligator, though, draws curious onlookers as some holdover from the savagery of prehistory, a cold-blooded killer that has come up from the primordial soup to swallow you whole. But is all this a misconception? Could crocodilians, despite not being mammals and not quite birds, be dynamic and not only have a softer side, but a far more complex relationship with the organisms around them than just a mindless feeding machine? And can we find a new lens to view these fascinating animals at a time when around the world they are at a high risk of disappearing forever?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another reaction video to an Argus video. And today I have a special guest for this episode, Donnie from the Wild Files, who I have brought in to react to a video on how to survive a crocodile. Now, Donnie has some experience working with crocodilians, so I thought it would be interesting to hear his thoughts on this. Anyway, Donnie, do you want to let everyone know a little bit about yourself and your croc cred?
Yeah, my Croc cred. So I spent a summer working at an alligator park as like an alligator trainer. So imagine like SeaWorld, but like the redneck version. So I would go in, like do tricks with them, play with them. And I had to learn a ton of safety in order to not die. And there's a bunch of little tips and tricks I've learned of, how not to get eaten alive. And I'm very curious as to what this AI is going to spit out of us.
Okay, let's begin.
Welcome to the Ultimate Survival Guide, where we teach you how to escape and make it back in one piece. Today, we're tackling one of the most feared predators in the world, the crocodile. With these tips, you'll be able to outsmart these ancient reptiles and swim away unscathed.
So I did a volcano video, which was not the worst. How to survive a volcano. It was
Okay.
kind of low on, like, it didn't have enough information to be like educational, but it like didn't state anything that was maybe bad advice. So I'm
Okay. So
hopeful that this will be okay.
okay.
One,
As long as it
know your
doesn't say
enemy.
anything just actively wrong.
The first step to surviving a crocodile attack is to know your enemy. Crocodiles are ambush predators that can grow up to 20 feet long and weigh over 1,000 pounds. They're fast, strong, and have a powerful bite that can crush bones with ease. In other words, they're basically the ultimate combination of speed, strength, and bad breath. Nope.
What the hell? I mean, it didn't say anything objectively wrong. Just the bad breath line was a little cringe.
It was very,
An
very
asterisk.
cringe.
Yeah,
But
if you're
I mean, this
ever,
doesn't describe all crocodiles, though. Like, it kind of will
yeah,
describe like a saltwater crocodile's like 20 feet long, and like some American crocodiles get that big, and I
yeah.
think
It's kind
big
of
Nile
weird.
crocodiles.
It's kind of weird to say they can grow up to 20 feet and over 1,000 pounds when like a 20-foot crocodile would weigh a lot more than 1,000 pounds. But
Yeah, I think I did.
yeah,
I think I
that
did
was
look
weird.
at that, and it's like the big saltwater crocodiles are a bit bigger than 1,000 pounds. Like 1,000 pounds is
Yeah,
a pretty is not that big. Yeah. So like
yeah, it's
in
pretty
terms of
low
other
ball.
crocodilians, yeah, I think like sometimes American alligators can get. I think the big record ones are in get towards there, and I think black caiman actually, I guess,
Yeah,
are bigger than American alligators, which is kind of surprising. And then Indian
yeah,
garil, but
yeah. I mean, 20 feet's a good like go to upper limit. I think the world record was that saltwater croc from the Philippines that was, I want to say, 21 feet. I
Wow.
think it was called Lau Lau. But it's very rare to see
Yeah.
like an actual 20-foot crocodile.
I think of them as like the big ones that I see, like in that sort of 10 to 15 foot range.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Like
like
a
that's
15-foot crocodile's adult.
yeah,
Very,
not something to mess around with.
yeah, definitely. And if you ever are in a position to smell its breath, it's probably already too late. So,
That's not a good position to
yeah.
be in. Okay.
Number two, stay away from known crocodile habitats. The best way to avoid a crocodile attack is to stay away from their known habitats. This includes freshwater rivers, swamps, and coastal areas. If you're in an area with a high population of crocodiles, it's best to keep your distance and avoid swimming or wading in the water. Number three,
I mean, that
Hmm.
seems sort of obvious.
Yeah, very much so. I will say, like, don't if you're gonna avoid areas for a crocodile attack, I would say you should be pretty fine at a beach or coastal areas because it's quite rare to see. Like even a saltwater crocs do go in the ocean, do travel there frequently and live there. But if you're actively worrying about them and at your beach day, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
And especially with how crocodiles hunt, it says like don't get in the water. I feel like you're at more risk standing by the edge of the water
Yeah.
because crocodiles don't in general actively hunt prey in the water as much as like ambushing it.
Because yeah, they're kind of they like to they like to sit and then wait for prey to kind of come
Yeah.
drink and then get them from there.
I mean, granted, a lot of attacks, at least with like alligators, have been say those like restaurants that are on like a high balcony over water and people are just feeding the alligators, dropping food into there, and then some drunk guy will like fall into the water. So they react heavily to like something splashing in the water.
Hmm.
But if you're just swimming around, kind of treading water, you're not as risk as you would be as like if you're standing on shore. Like I'm sure you've seen a lot of videos of people who like dive and snorkel with crocodiles, and that's like a big part of it.
Yeah, yeah,
They don't.
that's a great video. There's oh, is it? It's Beyond the Mask, I think. Is yeah, they do really cool scuba diving videos, but they did a really cool one where I think they're in the Solomon Islands and they were just out in the ocean with a crocodile.
Like I would love to do that
That'd be
personally,
really
but
cool.
that would be really
Yeah, I've
cool.
been in water like that was kind of like croc habitat, but I think it's probably a little closer to the ocean, so they're probably okay. Like it's okay to go swimming in there.
Yeah, what I've seen is that the clearer the water, the less you would have to worry about a crocodile attacking you. Because I feel like if they think that you can see them perfectly fine, they're like less willing to attack you.
Yeah, it's a harder, because it's a lot of energy to bring down prey.
Exactly.
keep your distance. If you do come across a crocodile, it is important to keep your distance. These reptiles are fast and unpredictable, and they can attack in a matter of seconds. So stay at least 30 feet away from the water's edge and don't make any sudden movements that might attract the crocodile's attention. So no waving your arms and shouting, "Here, crocodile, crocodile." That's not a good idea. Trust me. Number 4.
Trust me. Uh, it was sounding relatively reasonable until it said like don't go within 30 feet of the water's edge. Like I
It's
can guarantee
insane.
you if you're 20 feet, no crocodile is going to go out of the water and chase you down.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've been a lot closer to crocodiles that were a little that were watching me with the kind of interest that is a little disconcerting. But it's
yeah,
like they're not gonna I don't think they're just gonna start running out of the water after you.
yeah. Like when a crocodile ambushes prey, they're propelling themselves from the water with their hind feet and tail to like lunge and actively grab something. So they're not gonna just slowly walk out on land and nab grab you. That's a little interesting. And
Yeah,
oh,
30
and when
feet
it's
is.
the yeah, 30 feet, that's like you are good. You're fine to go a little closer than that. And then when it was talking about talking and like there's a grain of truth to that. Like when I worked at the alligator park, we had a crocodile. It was a more or less crocodile. And oh, sorry, I'm supposed to post a TikTok right now. And you would smack the shoreline with like a PVC pipe because they respond well to like vibrations. So like they can definitely feel vibrations of something on shore. I would say stomping around would be more hazardous than waving your arms around. I don't think that's gonna incite them as much as just pure vibration and thudding on the ground.
Because they have all the pits on the side of their jaw just specifically
Yeah,
for detecting vibration.
like I actually have an alligator skull right here, and you can see all the little dimples in its snout and whatnot. Those are the pressure receptors that it feels the vibration of prey on shore, and crocodiles actually have much more than alligators. So yeah, definitely don't stomp around on shore. Whereas with like a shark, you hear like splashing is bad. It's kind of the same, just vibrations, not really sound.
Or fight back. If a crocodile does attack, it's important to fight back. Punch it in the eyes, nose, or gills, as those are the most sensitive areas. Don't let go, as crocodiles have a tendency to roll their prey to try and dislodge it from their jaws. It's kind of like a game of tug of war, except the stakes are a little higher. No big deal.
Wow,
So
there's a lot to unpack there.
I don't think there's any species of crocodile that has gills.
I
Actually, I
would
know
say
for a
that's a
fact
good.
that is a completely false statement.
Yeah. Wow. That
I think you're going to have much more insights into actually what happens when a crocodile does grab a hold of you than I do. I've only heard like, oh, you punch him on the nose or the eyes or something.
yeah. I mean, just it's hard to ignore that gill statement. Wow. But yeah, when you are say you are bit by a crocodile, the main way it's going to try to kill you is by drowning you. It's not going to just kind of sit there and try and kill you with brute force. It's going to drag you into deep water and hold you there. So that's why you have to be pretty quick if you want to survive. You have to do everything you're going to do like before, you know, in the amount of time as you can hold your breath. And I want to say that video said tug back against the crocodile. I could have heard it wrong, but they say a tip is that when you're bit, roll with the death roll, but a crocodile isn't going to death roll something unless it's dead. So that's not really a viable tip. It's going to drown you first. So definitely, you know, hit it on the eyes. The nose is going to do next to nothing as crocodiles don't really have a sensitive nose. I would say the eyes and more so they're like sensitive pits. One really obscure tip for surviving a crocodile attack is that if you can find a way to get your arm into its mouth, they have a palate that blocks water from getting into their
Mm,
throat. And so you could actually, in theory, hit that pallet down, which would force water into their mouth and force them to let go. And like, so that's like a really high risk survival tip, but you don't stand much of a chance against a crocodile. So if you ever are in that situation, the best tip is probably to slam the back of their throat down so water goes in. That's like the most important thing
yeah,
I've learned.
it's one of those. I think I've heard this with oh, big cats, where you like take your fist and you shove it down their throat to do the gag
Yeah.
reflex, so they can't bite.
Yeah. So it's very effective on crocodilians because they, of course, don't want water in their throat. And in fact, uh, any crocodilian, they can't swallow anything underwater. They have to lift their head out of it. So
Mm.
they really don't like water going into their throat hole when they don't want it to. So, um, but again, actually reaching that spot and doing that would be very difficult.
It'd be kind
Besides
of a
that,
yeah.
I mean, I think a good news story. besides that, like if you have a friend or anyone with you, you need to jump on the crocodile and stop it from moving into deep water. Or if it does death roll, just stop it from twisting around. Um, because I've actually had to do that. Had to stop an alligator from death rolling. And if you are there with a person who's getting attacked, you need to just throw caution to the wind, keep that crocodile as stable as possible, and try and minimize the amount it moves, and just punch the eyes. And if you're feeling risky, make it swallow water.
Okay.
Number 4, seek medical attention.
Did it get the number wrong?
Yeah.
Finally, if you do survive a crocodile attack, it's important to seek medical attention immediately. Crocodiles carry bacteria in their mouth and so can cause serious infections. So it's essential to clean and treat any wounds as soon as possible. There you have it, everyone.
I mean, that's might be the most no-brainer tip of all time. If you're actively bleeding and survived a crocodile attack, you should probably go to the hospital.
You shouldn't just like go to the nearest like catfish restaurant and just
Yeah, just go to your local Walgreens and get a few bandages. You'll be fine. But and it says, I know I'm being like super nitpicky, but it says like, oh, crocodile mouths have a lot of bacteria. I'd say that's like the least amount of your worries. If anything, the bacteria in the water itself is what will actively get in your wound.
Yeah, you'd probably be more concerned because, like, this is gross water.
Yeah, especially that water.
That looks
that would be bad.
Bright green water.
Yeah, I will say, surviving the injuries you get from a crocodile are rough because it's very different from like a shark. Like survivors of shark attacks, they're like missing chunks of their body or missing like limbs because it's such a clean bite.
Mm-hmm.
But a crocodile, depending on where it bites you, it could just shatter multiple bones in your arm, or heaven forbid it bites your torso, it can just crunch whatever's in there. So definitely going to need some serious medical attention.
Yeah.
I don't think you need a video to tell you that.
What you need to know to survive a crocodile attack. Just remember, these ancient predators are not to be underestimated. Just like the power of smashing that subscribe button so you can stay informed on the best ways to stay alive in the wild. Welcome.
It convinced me. Damn. Got me in the end. Oh, wow. Wow. That, what a perfect way to end the video. Honestly.
So, so some wrong stuff, a lot of no-brainer stuff. Crocodiles don't have gills.
I can't believe I said that.
Yeah. So hopefully we added some commentary to this that made it like to the bare minimum of like this qualifies as educational content now.
Yeah, we've taken this smoldering dump of a video and somehow spruced it up into educational. But wow, yeah, I mean, I'm guessing with a lot of that they just pulled from like shark stuff, because the gill thing is very, if you're trying to punch a crocodile's gills, you're gonna have a rough day, let's just say that. Oh man.
Yeah, so thank you for being on, Donnie, and let's continue with the video.
So before we discuss the nature of alligators and crocodiles, and if they really are the cold-blooded killers the media often makes them out to be, let me explain exactly what these animals are and how to tell them apart. Because the question, how to tell apart a crocodile and an alligator, is something most people seem to ask sometime in their life for some inexplicable reason. And what better place to showcase those differences than at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm? A small zoo known for really one thing, having every species of crocodilian in the world. So guess what? This video on crocodilians will include every species, except some of the possible splits and newly described species. Anyway, that means I can still show you the American alligator, Chinese alligator, spectacled caiman, black caiman, yakar caiman, dwarf caiman, broad-snouted caiman, smooth-fronted caiman, the tombstonia, the Indian gharial and their fragile AF jaws, the saltwater crocodile, the American crocodile, the Philippine crocodile, the Orinoco crocodile, Morlet's crocodile, the Siamese crocodile, the Mugger crocodile, the Cuban crocodile, Johnston's crocodile, the New Guinea crocodile or Hall's New Guinea crocodile, whichever the alligator farm has, the Nile crocodile, the West African slender-snouted crocodile, the West African crocodile, and the African dwarf crocodile. So, what unifies and differentiates all these reptiles? Crocodilians are archosaurs, which I discussed at length in a video last season when I chased down the incredibly odd Watson bird in the depths of the Amazon. Anyway, some other archosaurs to name drop are like dinosaurs, pterosaurs, birds, and a lot of prehistoric animals that looked like crocodiles, but are not. This phytosaur from the Triassic just happened to live a very similar life to modern crocs, but unlike most of them, had serrated teeth and weird nostril placement. Then, after they went extinct, other animals filled that niche, like Sarcosuchus, which is closely related to true modern crocs, but is not quite one. This, though, the gigantic Deinosuchus, is a true crocodilian from when the group began to become more common towards the end of the Cretaceous. Isn't taxonomy fun? Modern crocodilians are broken into two broad groups: the alligator types, which are the alligators and caiman, and the crocodile types, which includes the crocodiles and gharials. Now, how do you tell any of these apart? Well, besides captivity and the southern tip of Florida, you really won't find alligators and crocodiles in the same area. Of course, throwing gharial and caiman in there makes things a bit more confusing because gharial and caiman overlap with crocs. Like alligators are easy enough to tell apart because when the mouth is closed, you can't see the bottom teeth. But in crocs, some caiman and gharial, you can. Alligators and caiman have generally broader snouts in relation to the length, definitely when compared to the fish specialists like gharial. Kind of like with birding though, the different crocodilians give me different vibes. Like that's a gator vibe, that is a croc vibe, caiman vibe, and a gharial vibe. I don't know, they just all look completely different to me. It's hard to articulate though. Well, with the taxonomy rant out of the way, I hope, it is time to see if these creatures are killers or caring. Well, like so many large predators, it's complicated. I wouldn't want to fall into all these snapping jaws, would you? My first experience with a wild crocodilian was with this American croc in Costa Rica, who was just chilling next to a dock without a care in the world, and had this huge head. I was more worried about a random street dog that had come to say hi, getting too close and ending up as a crocodile's dinner than the croc doing anything to me. Then in the Everglades, when I went to look for American crocodiles again and film this video, this croc with the messed up face was really interested in a guy fishing. And then when I filmed some mosquitoes biting me, because the Everglades in late May is kind of like donating your blood, another croc just popped up to see what I was doing. Like the croc wasn't going to come out and try to chase me down on land, but like it would have been real dumb to get much closer. And around the world, crocodiles do eat people. Many crocodiles have evolved as ambush predators of large land mammals, and humans fall into that category. People get grabbed in Florida from time to time, and this massive saltwater crocodile taxidermied at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm, known as Gomek, was captured in Papua New Guinea, where he was rumored to have been a man-eater on the Fly River. But that said, crocodilians definitely have a softer side, especially when it comes to their young. As they are more closely related to birds compared to other reptiles, crocodilians have much more bird-like maternal care, and baby gators are even called chicks. To incubate the eggs, mother crocodilians make a big pile of vegetation, which rots, giving off heat to keep the eggs warm. Since they are not warm-blooded and a bit heavy, they can't really sit on a nest like a bird. The mother will stay by the nest's side, protecting it from any animal trying to steal eggs, which despite being protected by an angry mother croc, is still quite tempting. When the young hatch, many crocodiles will pick up young gingerly in those powerful jaws and carry them to the water. So even the jaws of a crocodile can be used in a more gentle way. For a while at least after this, Mom stays with her chicks and protects them. I got really great footage of how protective a mother alligator can be on a cypress forest trail in Florida when I came across this mother and her brood. It was a cold day, and so the young were sunning themselves. As I watched them, a bunch of people who wouldn't shut the up walked by. Hearing them, the mother gator turned around, and though it was so cold she was incapable of moving very fast, came up on land and put her body in between the trail and the chicks. This was such a sweet gesture of maternal care, doing the only thing she really could in the situation to make sure the little ones were safe. Like, if this doesn't convince you that there is a softer side to crocodilians, I don't know what will. Beyond this softer side with their young, crocodilians are also critical parts of their ecosystem, and many other species rely on them, especially the American alligators of Florida. Alligators dig holes in the sawgrass prairies of the Everglades ecosystem, which retain water in the dry season, and so are an important refugia for many aquatic species during this time. The concentration of frogs and fish brings in mammals and birds, which rely on these alligator holes for food. Back at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm, one can see another way alligators are critical to their ecosystems. Above this pool, overflowing with alligators, is a massive rookery of nesting birds. Egrets, storks, spoonbills, anhinga, herons all fill the trees over this pond of predators. Bird eggs are a tasty meal for all manner of mammals, but would-be egg thieves make a tasty treat for alligators. So the birds specifically have chosen the trees above the alligator farm's high density of alligators as the best place in the area to build nests and raise their young. It is like having a babysitter, though on occasion the babysitters might eat a misbehaving kid. But hey, archosaurs teaming up to fight against the mammals like it is still the Mesozoic. While this particular situation was created by humans building the alligator farm, and alligator densities are far more than what a natural ecosystem can support, apparently nobody has actually studied this relationship. It is just a thing that seems to be really clear at alligator parks in Florida. It would be interesting to know whether local alligator density is a factor in the formation of bird rookeries. Could be an interesting research topic for an aspiring archosaur researcher. So hopefully, now that you have a bit more of an appreciation of these amazing animals, we can talk about how bad the future looks for so many of them. A couple years ago, I did a countdown of the most threatened taxa, and crocodilians were quite high on the list, with a quarter of the species listed as critically endangered. Those are the Chinese alligator, Orinoco crocodile, Philippine crocodile, Cuban crocodile, Siamese crocodile, West African slender-snouted crocodile, and the Indian gharial. A combination of hunting to make handbags or belts because crocodile leather apparently makes you seem more macho, and habitat loss has been devastating to many species. Some of these species we know next to nothing about, including all of the factors driving their decline, which makes their conservation particularly challenging. Orinoco and Cuban crocodiles were nearly hunted to extinction for their hide. Chinese alligators were hunted for meat, and loss of habitat in the Yangtze River has driven the species to near extinction, like all the other animals of the Yangtze, like the river dolphins, sturgeon, and paddlefish. Then you have the gharial, which is threatened by the loss of sandbanks the species needs to breed, through the construction of dams and sand mining for the concrete that makes them. Then, their long, skinny jaws get easily tangled in fishing gear, so either they drown or end up with damaged jaws. Fortunately, with a little effort, these animals can make a comeback, and places like the St. Augustine Alligator Farm breeds these species, so perhaps one day their descendants can return to their natural range. Other species have recovered, like the American alligator, which was once an endangered species, but today can be found literally everywhere in Florida. Like every body of water seems to have one of these reptiles lurking in it. Well, with my obligatory conservation message given, I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you find alligators and crocodiles scary or fascinating. Next time, after covering crocodilians, there is one more group of misunderstood predators I want to talk about: sharks. And what better way to talk about them than going after the largest predator the world has ever known, the definitely extinct megalodon. Will I bite off more than I can chew with this one?